say that part of it.
So the question that I had, though, is I'd like to hear you talk about the guns you got as a kid and the guns as you grew up, where you got them, what you used them for.
I'm not sure what you're asking, really.
Well, what's the story of when did you get your first gun? When did you start shooting?
Oh, I
they're
started
not
shooting.
same.
I started shooting very early. I was probably 7 or 8 years old when I shot the rifle the first time.
What rifle was that?
30-30.
Okay.
My uncle had a 25-35 with a 26-inch barrel.
Okay.
Uncle or cousin, I don't remember. Anyway, a 25-35 with a 26-inch barrel.
Oh, yeah.
And I shot the gun and I thought it kicked too much. Well, it wasn't very big. So I wanted to shoot the 30-30. It was a lot smaller gun. Shouldn't.
Shouldn't kick so much.
Dad tried to tell me that, yeah, it kicked harder than the 25-35, but I shot it. Anyway, I insisted. And, yep, it kicked more than the 25-35.
Okay.
First time I shot the shotgun, I was probably 10 or 11. We were out hunting pheasants. I shot it at a sagebrush standing on the drain bank.
Did you hit it?
Oh yeah, it was like across the house way.
Yeah.
But Dad owned several 22s. He had an old single shot that I don't know where in the world he got it. And I believe it was a Remington 24-inch barrel, single shot that was shot an awful lot when I was a kid. And there was a time we were coming back from Delta, I think it was, and somebody had lost a bundle side of the road. We stopped and picked it up, and it was a blanket, and inside the blanket was a whole bunch of stuff, all kinds of stuff, camp gear, whatnot. And there was a little Winchester 22 in there with a 20-inch barrel, single shot 22.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad took it to the police department in Tooele. See if anybody ever came back and wanted to claim it. And they had it for 6 months or so, and they called Dad and said, "No, nobody's come get it. It's your stuff." And I don't even know what became of those two guns. I suspect Steve got one of them, but I don't know.
So what did you shoot growing up then? I mean, obviously it wasn't the 30-30 or the 20-30.
We started out shooting those single shot 22s.
What'd you go shoot at?
What we shot. And when I was probably 12 years old, we was in to my Uncle Lee's place one time, and he had this little Winchester model 1911 pump gun with a 20-inch round barrel. And I didn't know it at the time. Dad tried to buy the gun or trade him out of it, and he wasn't willing to let it go. And I'd been outside. I came into the house and saw the gun there, and they let me handle it a little bit. And I liked the gun. I said, "Dad, why don't you buy this gun?" Well, since I wanted the gun, my uncle was willing to trade it to Dad. And I don't know whether he bought it or whether he traded it. I don't know what happened. Anyway, Dad went home with the gun. And when I turned 14 on my 14th birthday, Dad gave me that gun. And it's standing in my gun closet right now.
Still have it.
Still have it.
That was your first gun you ever...
That was the first gun that was mine. And I guarantee you, I could empty the magazine of that gun really, really fast. Even though it was a pump gun. As those little Winchesters, you didn't have to release the trigger. Just run the pump, they would go off.
Okay, so what did you shoot at from the time you were 12 to 14 to...
Anything.
Yeah, whatever there was to shoot at. There was one time we were down, I don't know how old I was, not very old. We were down in somewhere down around Mount Pleasant or Fairview down there, and we were out in the fields hunting ground squirrels, podguts. And I was carrying that long barrel single shot, and grasshopper flew up beside me, landed, probably a foot away. So I shot him.
Okay.
That took the gun away from me. That wasn't what I was supposed to be shooting at.
Now, was that because you wasted ammunition, or was it,
Because it wasn't what it's supposed to be.
Was what I was supposed to be shooting at.
would you taken it from your kids that they wouldn't shot a grasshopper?
I don't know. I don't know. The dad thought I knew I threw the shot to grasshopper. He thought maybe the gun went off by mistake. I don't know what he thought, but he took the gun away from me. I didn't tell him I shot a grasshopper.
Did you hit the grasshopper? To
Oh yeah. It just went away. That was the first gun that I owned, and then a couple of years later than that, I don't know how many, I bought a 25-35 regular Winchester Model 94. Was an old gun. There was no blue left on it. But it shot good. And somewhere along the way, Dad got me to trade it to him for the 30-30 that he brought brand spanking new in like 1947 or 48 or something like that. Got me to trade guns with him. It was after he bought his 30-06. Got me to trade guns with him. So, and I still have that 30-30.
That's the 30-30 downstairs.
It's 30-30 that's in my gun closet. And he sold the 25-35 or traded it, or I don't know what happened to it. I think he had a market for it before he traded, but he thought the 30-30 would be a better gun for me. And he was right. He was right. And then I got that Model 97 Winchester shotgun. I don't know whether I bought that from Dad. I don't remember how I come to have that gun. That's one that Dad bought brand new in 1948. Paid, I think, $50 for it, 50 or 60.
Is that the one you carved your own stock with?
That's the one that I turned into a trap gun. Yep, I still have it. It's standing in the gun closet.
No, it's not.
It's in the safe, I think.
Jim did it. I was in that gun closet now.
Yeah.
Jim had it.
Didn't.
I just
he had
remember
that
being
for a
heavy.
while, but when he bought his little coach gun, he gave it back. But it's a terrible gun for cowboy action.
Yeah.
It's a trap gun.
Turned into a trap gun. So and the reason I did that, it's kind of interesting. I'd been shooting for a while. Not a long time. I hadn't shot 25 straight yet. And I bought a Remington 1100 trap gun. And I'd been shooting. And I'd been, most of the shooting that I'd done was turkey shoot type things. And I'd shot it decent. I wouldn't say I was a good shooter. And we gone to El Paso in TDY, and I took the gun with me. When the gun was down at the El Paso Trap and Ski Club shooting down there, one of the guys that was on the trip with us wanted to go out and shoot. Okay, come on out, I've always been willing to take friends with me to go shoot. We got out there, and they had a loaner gun. And we got in there, and it happened to be a Model 12 with a rollover cheek rest on the stock. Well, this kid, Dave Michaelis was his name, happened to be left-handed. So that rollover cheek rest didn't work. So I shot the loaner gun, let him shoot my Model 1100. I shot 25 straight with it.
Must be something to that.
Something to that. So when I got home, I went and bought I talked to a lot of people about getting a trap stock for the Model 97, and nobody had one. They all told me, buy a Model 12 stock and adjust it to fit. Except I got into Wolf's, and they had a Roberts catalog there, and Roberts, with this Premier grade wood, said they had a stock for a Winchester 97. Great. And it was what they called 80% inletted, so you had to finish fitting it to the gun. Well, the difference between a Model 12 and a Model 97 is significant.
Took forever.
But, you know, I thought I had one for the Model 97. So I got it home and it wasn't, and it took me a year to carve that stock and get it to fit that gun and get it finished. And with the forend for the Model 12, the way they worked, the forend was long, so that when you pulled the thing back, the forend fit clear up almost to the trigger guard. Well, on the 97, the carrier comes down below the receiver, so I had to cut a slot out of that nice piece of wood for the carrier to come down.
It was pretty wood.
And oh, it's gorgeous wood. It's gorgeous wood. So there was some modification. Then before I finished it, when I finally got it fitted, before I finished it, I would take it up to the gun club and I would shoot it. And then I'd go back and I'd sand on it, work on it, sand on it. And I'd go shoot it, and I'd come back and sand on it until I got it shooting the way I wanted it to, and then I finished it with a urethane finish.
Yeah, hung it up in the
That,
bedroom.
that was my experience with and when we were married, that was the guns that I owned.
Those three.
Yeah, I had all three Winchester. Winchester 1911 22, Winchester Model 94 30-30, and the Winchester Model 97 12 gauge. That was the three guns I owned. We hadn't been married very long when I bought Remington Model 552 Autoloader 22, which still got that gun too.
There's a lot of them that had that you don't have anymore.
What about you, Mother? Did you grow up with any guns, or were you
Yes.
more civilized than that?
No, well, Daddy had one gun, but it was put away in the closet, and he took it out to go deer hunting, and then he put it back in the closet. He didn't shoot it like he shot any time. He didn't go shoot birds or anything like that. He had a rifle. And no, I didn't have anything to do with guns until I got into him. So, yeah. I learned a lot about guns after that.
So what did you hunt when you were little, Dad?
Rabbits mostly until I was old enough to hunt birds, which was age 14. And then I hunted pheasants, and I hunted mourning doves, and I hunted chukars, we hunted rabbits. And then at age 16, I was old enough to hunt deer. I was hunting deer.
Well, you went hunting deer before you were, I mean, you went out with your
Well, I
dad several
was-
times.
Yeah, I went out hunting with him a lot. You know, from the time I was probably, well, the first time I went hunting with him, I was 4 or 5 years old, rode on the back of the horse down in Mount Pleasant. But to actually go, when I knew what I was doing, going, you know, part of the hunting trip, I was probably 10 or 11. We went hunting.
Would you go carry a gun and go
Nope.
shoot rabbits, or you?
Nope, I didn't carry a gun until I was 16.
I was hunting deer. But
Well,
you shot rabbits before that.
Oh yeah, I hunted a lot of rabbits before. They didn't need a license to hunt rabbits, but I hunted. Well, the mourning dove season opened the 1st of September. They're considered a migratory bird, so federal law required that you couldn't open before the 1st of September. And the state wanted to get as much as they could out of it, so it opened on the 1st of September. And being that it was a migratory bird, you had to have a plug-in your shotgun, so you could only shoot 3 shots. Under that, we hunted pheasants. Lots and lots of years we went down to Delta and hunted pheasants on my grandmother's property down there. And then when I turned 16, we hunted deer.
So how much of this was sport hunting, and how much of this was putting food on the table hunting?
All of it.
All of it was which?
Yeah,
Either or both.
we ate them. We ate jackrabbits.
Well, that'd be after you married me, we didn't eat that.
Nah,
We both ate cottontails. And that'd go out. Rabbits are
yeah,
gone.
we hunted for sport, of course. But we also took it home. We did our own butchering. Dad had a meat locker rented down at Solberg's, and we get our deer, butcher them, wrap it, take it down to the freezer. Well, that's what we did. Dad loved to hunt deer.
Mhm.
He lived to hunt deer. When he was, long before he was married, when he was living at home, but yet he was on his own, you know, probably in his 20s, maybe even late 20s. He always squirreled away a little money so that when deer season came around, he had enough money to go hunt deer. And there were times that his folks would come to him to borrow money. You know, and this was just before and during the Depression. They knew that he had a little bit.
Because he was always scrolling away to.
He wanted to hunt deer. He wanted to hunt deer. And my dad was as good a shot with a rifle as anybody I ever knew. When he decided a deer should be shot, it got shot.
Any good stories about him shooting really amazing shots?
Oh, probably a bunch. It was out one time. It was before I was old enough to hunt. I was probably 14, 15. We were sitting on the hill opening morning and heard something coming down behind us. We were out on a little point with a big draw in front of us and a little draw to the right. And we could hear this bounce, bounce, bounce. As it got closer, well, Dad stood up, and this really nice, big 3-point. Big for a 3-point. Come bouncing along. Probably, I'm going to guess 40 or 50 yards away. And Dad pulled up and shot him. And when he shot, he didn't even know we were there. When he shot him, that deer started packing the mail. He went on down by the time he got down to the bottom, he was likely 50, 60 yards away. And Dad shot again. When he shot that time, the deer turned and started down the big draw. Again, staying about 50, 60 yards, maybe 70. But he was really packing the mail. Dad shot again, and that time he went down.
Mm-hmm.
And we got down to the deer. You could cover all 3 of those holes with your hand,
Right where they're supposed to be.
right where they were supposed to be. One time, I was in school. Couldn't go with him. He went out with Darwin, I think.
Cousin.
I don't know. He went out hunting anyway, and it was late in the season. There was snow on the ground, and he came back and talking about the hunt, and he was kind of like, "Well, I only saw one deer," and okay, that's too bad. And finally, he said, "Well, you better go out in the back of the truck and get that deer." Well, we went out there, and got the deer. Had a nice big buck back there. I don't remember whether it was a 3 or 4 point. That was the only deer he saw, but he got it. And we were up South Little Canyon one time. There was a whole bunch of us up there. And there was probably, I'm going to guess, in that canyon, 60 or 70 hunters. Finally, a deer came in there, and it sounded like World War III. And, Dad just sat there, and the deer come down the hill, down along the ridge, then come down the hill, and finally Dad got up, shot the deer, and it went down. And we went over to get to it, and we weren't the first ones there. First guy there shot it in the head. Well, the guy that shoots it in the head in a deal like that is their deer.
Yeah.
It was that same hunt that my aunt was out there. She had a 30-30 Winchester. This was a day or two
Which
later.
one?
And
Okay.
And deer came down in front of her and she shot it. And it went down, and they could hear her yelling all over that she got the deer. So they went over to get the deer, and it was down, but it was laying there kicking. And she only shot once. And she was excited because she emptied her gun and couldn't hit the deer the second time. What do you mean you emptied your gun? We only heard one shot, so I went back where she was standing, and there was an empty cartridge laying on the ground and 6 full ones laying beside it. She had levered that gun 6 times without firing a shot. Thought she fired every time.
That's what happens when you get your deer.
Well,
And you haven't shot back. Haven't shot since you were hunted since you were 5.
yeah. Well, she broke the deer's back, so he couldn't go, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, he was doe. Yeah, he wasn't dead, but he was trying. She was trying to get up and go, but couldn't. And you start talking about deer hunting stories. There are so many of them. There's so many of them. We was out north of Fairfield one day. I was out there with Robert and Ted, and heard Ted shooting. He had 30-30 Winchester, and heard him shooting. Bang, 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 bang. And I got over there just in time to see the deer. And the deer was probably 250 yards up the canyon. I got there just in time to see the deer go down. And his gun was empty. It was his last shot. Got the deer down. So he had 30-30. Poked 6 more rounds in it. Looked up. The deer was going right back where it just come from. Bang, 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 bang. Last shot, the deer goes down. And Robert was on the horse, and he come up the other way, and he was above the deer. So the deer was down there thrashing, trying to get up. We was steering him down to where the deer was. And when he got there, he had this 30-06. When he got down there, he shot the deer in the back of the head, and both horns popped off. There's a 2 on one side, 3 on the other, I think. Both horns
I can
popped
just
off.
hear him. That just no.
But when we got to the deer, come to find out that Ted had broke one hind leg in the hock and the other hind leg in the ankle. But, uphill, 250, 300 yards away, that's a long shot for a 30-30.
Yes, it is.
Oh yeah, Ted went on.
I'll bet he went on.
He went on for probably an hour.
Angry and
Cussing,
popped the
cussing,
head,
cussing,
the
cussing.
horns off.
Yeah.
Yep. One of them just fell off, the other one bounced in the air probably 4 or 5 feet.
What did you think about marrying some guy that hunted this much?
Oh, he only went hunting once. Every year he didn't go hunt like your dad, like your grandfather did. He would go. I was a little bit torqued a couple of times, but then he got into trap shooting, and I learned not to get upset when he wanted to go shoot. Just go with him.
So did trap shooting replace hunting?
Yes.
Shoot a lot more. And shoot all year. Instead of just in October.
I haven't had a hunting license since we moved to Idaho. Had one when we were in Colorado, mostly because my sons wanted to go hunting and I wanted to go with them.
Well, I remember going hunting with you in Great Falls. Going hunting with you is the best way because I was way underage to hold a gun to do any shooting. I don't remember much of it.
We went out one time and I think Stuart had the 30-06. Stuart or Michael, I don't remember.
That was true.
Probably Stuart. And Lynn wanted to go hunting too. So she had the 30-30. And I had my 44 on my hip, but that's not much of a deer gun. Very limited range. But we're going along, and a deer bounced out. I don't know, with Lynn. She and I were side by side, and this deer bounced out, was probably 50, 60 yards from us, and stopped to look back at us. And she wouldn't shoot at it. So she gave me the gun, cocked the hammer, shot. She hadn't put one in the chamber, and would snap. The deer ran. By the time I levered one in, got ready, the deer was gone. I didn't even get a shot off.
He told Lynn, you don't do that.
Well, I told her when we left the truck to put a round in the chamber so she'd be ready to go. Whether she didn't care, didn't hear, or didn't want to, I don't know. Yeah, and well, I think the last time I shot a deer, Michael and I had gone out together, and I told him that, you know, the best time to shoot a deer is when it's standing dead still. If it's moving, it's lots harder to hit. And I told him, you know, you shoot for the shoulder blade on the far side. That's your aim point. And we were out there, and these two fawns come down the hill, and they were maybe 100 yards away, no more than that. And Michael had the 30-06 with a scope on it, and I told him, wait till they stop. Well, the lead deer hadn't no more than all 4 feet got on the ground at the same time when the gun went off, and the deer fell towards us. And in my mind, I thought, well, I shot it in the head. And he started bouncing up and down. Boy, Dad, you're right. Just shoot that far shoulder blade. You get the deer every time. Well, when we got over there, he hit it in the neck.
Close enough.
And of course, the other one ran. And we got that deer turned head up and left him there to clean it. It's a good experience for a teenager. And I took the 30-06 and went looking for the other deer. There were no trees there at all. So I knew that the deer couldn't get away without me seeing it. And I went up over the ridge, and pretty quick the deer come around, and that deer was only about 40 yards from me. So I pulled up on it, pulled the trigger, and the deer popped in and started down the hill. And I thought, God, how did I miss that deer? That close. Jacked another round in, pulled up, and I could see a big blood spot right where I expected the bullet to come out. So I didn't even shoot again.
Mm-hmm.
And every time the deer bounced, I could see the blood gush out of that. Bounced down to the bottom, couldn't get up the other side, lay there and died. So that's the last deer I ever shot.
How did Mike do cleaning the deer?
We got it home with no guts in it.
Sounds like you don't want to talk about how bad it was.
But, well,
He probably didn't want to either.
by the time I got the one clean that I'd shot and got it back up the hill to where he was all done and ready to go. And of course, where he shot the deer, we were probably only, I don't know, maybe 300 yards or so from the truck. It wasn't a long